How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech and also to another crazy PC build video. Now, previously I did a Asus tough build with an i7 with the 3060. Was a nice, more entry-level mid-tier system, but this one is going almost all out with almost every single part. Now, it's definitely not going to be the cheapest. Currently, when I looked at the pricing, it is around $3,700 or 87,000 Rand for here in South Africa. So it's not for everybody, but it's also more of a showpiece really for Asus because they send over all of the parts and it is going back to them also afterwards. But they send it over so we can do a nice build and then also do benchmarks and just showcase it and show how all of the parts actually performs if you want to build something similar. If you're looking to get your own system but don't necessarily have this amount of a cash, or you don't have necessarily the knowledge to build your own system, Asus do have a pre-built systems from some of the local retailers here in South Africa. So if you wanted to get something, again, not similar to this one, but similar to the Asus tough PC that we built previously, or even something but cheaper, ranging from 18,000 Rand to upwards of 30,000, then check out the link to the video description where you can get your systems there without needing to worry about installing the CPU the wrong way around. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Now for this video, I'm going to go over all of the parts that's used in the system. I'm going to go over the specs, the pricing, and so on. And then also I will mention some of the parts that I would have changed if it was my personal system to something a bit different. Because again, this is more of a showpiece really for Asus, but I am still very happy at how it turned out. And it's definitely going all out. And then afterwards, we're going to do some juicy benchmarks to see how the system actually performs. And I don't think it's going to have any troubles. If you want to get any of the parts in this system, I will leave a link in the video description for all of the part lists, the pricing, and so on. So check that out as well. Then starting off with our first component, we have our motherboard, which is the Asus ROG Maximus Z690 Euro, which is a pretty high-end board. Perfect fit for this system. Now, pricing wise, it is a bit expensive again. A high-end board is going for around $600 or 12,000 Rand for here in South Africa, but it does pretty much feature everything that you really need. So it does support up to 128 gigs of DDR5 memory with speeds up to 6400 megahertz. That's pretty damn fast. It does also have 3 PCI Express slots, with the top 2 being a PCI Express 5, of course, the new connection being double the speed, double the everything, but nothing that really uses it at this time, so you'll future-proofing with this board. And then the bottom one is going to be PCI Express 3. A new feature that Asus added to some of their new Z690 boards is that they do feature a quick release button for our graphics card. You know, if you want to get your graphics card out there, have to use like a pen or a screwdriver to actually pull it out. Now you have a button, you just press it and it's going to release your GPU, which is really handy. Now, if you want to get a bit more detail about this board, I did actually do a unboxing at the launch of these boards at the Z690 launch. So if you want to see that, check out the link in the video description. Now, as for storage, you do have plenty of options here because you do get a nice little addition inside the box. So on the board, you do have 3 M.2 slots, 2 of them being a PCI Express 4 and 1 being PCI Express 3. But you do also get an included Hyper M.2 add-on card in the box that does give you 2 additional M.2 slots, one of them being a PCI Express 5, but otherwise you have 2 PCI Express 4 ones. So you'll have to slot it into one of the PCI Express 5 connections if you want to use a PCI Express 5 M.2, which I believe they're still working on it. I'm not sure if there's actually one out yet, but you do have that option later on and you're gonna get some crazy speeds out of that one. But now, if you want to get into overclocking, this board supports everything. It does have a 20 plus 190 amp power stage. That's all you really need. Now, also, I am happy to see that you do get a very nice state of I/O here at the back with 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports directly on the board. For a content creator like myself, that's really handy. Then next up, we have our CPU, which is the i9-12900. Now, it's unfortunately not the K. I would have liked the K version because you can overclock it and it's going to be perfect for this board. But that's all Asus currently had at the moment. So we're sticking with the non-K version, and it's still plenty of faults, which we'll get into. So the 12900 does have 16 cores. You do have 8 performance cores and 8 efficient cores, which in total 16 cores there and 24 threads. It does also boost up to 5.1 gigahertz on a single core, and overall you are getting around like a 4.8, 4.7 across all of the performance cores. Now, as for pricing, this one is currently retailing for around $530 or 11,000 Rand currently. But if you want to spend a bit more and rather get the overclockable versions, you do have the K and the KF version, with the K going for $560 or 13,200 Rand, and the KF just doesn't have an integrated GPU built in. It's not really big of a problem, but it is a tiny bit cheaper at $550 or 13,000 Rand. And I will say, if you're already spending that amount, an extra 2,000 Rand or $20, it's definitely worth it to get that extra performance out. But hey, you can also just go for the i7-12700K, and that thing is a beast on its own also, and it's quite a bit cheaper at $380 or 8,500 Rand. So you do have plenty of options to actually go for our CPU. And then next up for our memory, we do have 2 but empty Kingston Fury Beast memory. So in each pack there's 2 16 gig 4800 megahertz DDR5 CL38 memory modules, and again we do have 2 of them. So our system does have 64 gigs running at 4,800 megahertz. Now you can go higher again, the system does support 6,400 megahertz, but for the price point, I still think these are pretty decent, with them per pack retailing for around $190 or 4,600 Rand. If you're gonna go up to that 5,000 and 6,000 range, it's definitely going to double your price point, so be prepared for that. But I do like this memory quite a bit. They don't have any flashy RGB going on, and I know a lot of people don't necessarily want that anymore. So these do just come out with a slim dark aluminum heat spreader that's also pretty low profile. So if you want to go for an air cooler, you don't have to worry about a space clearance over your memory modules. Then next up for our storage, we do have the Kingston Fury Renegade 2TB PCI Express Gen 4. We're not at the Gen 5 just yet again. Now, I have actually already done a review on the Fury Renegade, so if you want to see how it performs against some other SSDs, it's pretty quick, then definitely check that out. We'll leave a link in the video description. But anyway, it does reach speeds up to 7,000 megabytes a second in reads and writes. Now, pricing wise, I couldn't find it for here in South Africa at the moment, but it is retailing for around $300 for the 2TB version. Then moving on towards our case, which you guys can already see. Weirdly enough, this is a mid-tower apparently, but it definitely doesn't look like a mid-tower. So it's just spacing in between. It doesn't support the largest of boards, I think. So that's why it's a mid-tower technically. But anyway, so this is the Asus ROG Strix Helios GX601. Now, I have actually already done a couple of builds and also showcases in this case previously, so I'm still very happy about it. Now, pricing wise, it is retailing for under $260 or 4,800 Rand for the black version, but you do also get a white version, which I think looks so damn sexy, which is a tiny bit more expensive, unfortunately. You can go again for a full white Asus ROG system. I do like that very much. Now, you do feature tempered glass all around the front and both of the sides. And then also you do have these top carry handles, which you can't currently see on camera, but you do have them that you can actually carry the system. It does get pretty heavy, especially with all of the tempered glass going on and the system build inside. So you will be thankful if you want to take this case to a LAN or so on. It's going to make it a lot easier to carry around. Now, also you do have 4 140mm fans included, 3 at the front and 1 at the back, non-RGB, but we'll get into some more that we added with our all-in-one. Now, you do have the option of vertically mounting your GPU. Unfortunately, I didn't add that this time, but you can do that. And then also, it's pretty easy to cable manage. There's so much space at the back, here in the front to neatly hide all of your cables. Your power supply shroud covers everything there. And also, if you have a nice power supply like the one we have here, which we'll go over, you can even see the side of it. You can show off your power supply a bit, especially one that is this expensive as well. And then lastly, for our I/O, you have everything here at the top with plenty of USBs, Type-Cs, power. You have your RGB button, and then also your fan low or high button as well. And then for our power supply, we have the Asus ROG Thor 1000 watt Platinum 2. So this is the second iteration of the Thor power supplies, and I do like the design of the new one quite a bit more, but we'll get into that. So pricing wise, it's not cheap. It's retailing for around $360 or over 7,000 Rand. I currently can't find it here in South Africa at the moment, but it is going to be over 7,000 Rand. Now you might be thinking, why do you need 1000 watts? Majority of systems don't, but this isn't majority of systems, and our GPU does use quite a bit of power. So anyway, this is a 1000 watt platinum rated power supply. It's just super efficient, and that's all it actually goes towards. And it does use all 100% Japanese capacitors and all of that. It's just up there with some of the base power supplies that you can currently get. So anyway, most people don't really care about power supplies that much, but you will care once you actually see how gorgeous this power supply looks. So it does have a new design heat spreader that's more silver and more aligned over it, which actually does look really nice. Now unfortunately, of course, you can't really see it in a case, but you can still imagine this. But luckily, because our case is kind of designed for this power supply, you'd have the open slot here, and here you can actually see our OLED display that actually real-time shows you your power draw of your power supply. So currently it's just sitting on idle at right 60 watts. But it definitely goes higher than that. So it's just a nice, quick way to actually see how much power your system actually draws. And then also it is a fully modular, and finally it does come with a 135mm axial tech fan. And that does also have a silent mode button here at the back as well. And then next up for our cooler, we have the Asus ROG, excuse me if I pronounce this wrong, Ryujin 2360. So this is probably one of the coolest coolers that I have actually used, and I previously did a build with one of these as well, because as you guys can see, it does come with a massive display on our pump. So currently this all-in-one is retailing for around $300, and for here in South Africa, again, I couldn't find it, but it's going to be over 7,000 Rand. So you're gonna pay for that. But along with that, you do have 3 Noctua 120 IPPC fans that does have an RPM of 2000. And of course, if you know Noctua, they do perform really well. But now let's get into the main focus, because that's of course going to be this massive display. Now you do have some other coolers, same with Asus, that does have more of the rounded display on it, but this one is more square, and it is quite a bit larger. It is a 3.5-inch color LCD display, which compared to the circular ones, you can just see so much more. Now you probably already know everything that you can display on the display, like your temperatures, all of your system information. You can even again play like videos there. Some of the videos can get pretty cool, so you can just do whatever you want with it. It's a second, a third, a fourth, or fifth display, but this time it's actually on your coolers, so you can go all out and play whatever you want on it. And then finally, getting into our GPU, we have the Asus ROG Strix RTX 3080 OC 12 gig edition. Now, normally the 3080s do have 10 gigs, but the newer versions do go up to 12 gigs, which is a very nice addition. I don't understand why they didn't add that from the beginning, but anyway, now prices are still a bit high, but they are trickling down, with this one retailing for around $1,000 or 30,000 Rand, again for here in South Africa. It's not the cheapest, but you are getting plenty of performance out. Now, if you want to go for the 10 gig model, that one is below $1,000. So you do have options, but the 12 gig is definitely a nice addition if you want to go above 4K. Above 4K, if you want to go 8K, jeez. Now, if you haven't seen the design of the new ROG Strix card, they're probably my favorite design of any currently new GPU. I've reviewed a couple of other RTX 30 series Strix cards before and just love the design, what they did with it. The gray and black design that they went with, that's just beautiful. And then also you have your RGB strip there on the side as well, but you can change the colors and all of that. You don't need to have it in rainbow mode. Kind of just a single or even off if you want to do that. Now you can probably also see that we do have a little addition because the card is pretty heavy. So this is the ROG Hercule Lux, which is a GPU support. Yeah, our case actually does come with GPU support as well, but we do have an additional one. And this one actually has RGB as well. So it can adjust up and down, also just support our GPU a bit better, but it does look pretty nice. So you do have options there. You don't have to go for it, but you can if you wanted to. All right, now with all of that out of the way, we can get into the most important parts, and that is how the system actually performs. So let's get into the benchmarks. So first up, we have a Cinebench R23, and we can see that the 12900K does beat out all of the previous CPUs that I have tested, although I have not tested the 12900K yet. For a Blender Classroom benchmark, also here the 12900 does beat out the others, even the Ryzen 9 5900X. And then for Geekbench 5, we can see that in the multi-core, it does beat out the others quite a bit. And then quickly for Firestrike, I added a previous build that I did with the HAV 700. And we can see that the 3080 12 gig beats out the others by quite a bit. But also weirdly enough, the 12700K and the TUF system actually did a bit better than the 12900. And then for our gaming benchmarks, we're starting at 1440p with everything set on the Ultra preset, but not with a DLSS or ray tracing. We can see that Call of Duty Warzone was doing the best at over 180 frames a second there, and Last Year's Dying Light at around 79 frames. But of course, everything is set on Ultra, so you cannot lower it if you want to get a bit better results. And then finally, for the 4K test, we can see that Call of Duty now just above 100 frames a second, and Dying Light at just below 60 frames a second. Still not bad at a 4K, everything set on Ultra. And if you do enable DLSS on some of these games, then you'll definitely get an extra 25 to 50% improvement right there. Alright, so that's pretty much it for our build video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and comment like always. Again, all of the parts will be linked in the video description if you want to get it for yourself. Big shout out to Asus of Africa for sending all of the parts over for a review and making not only this video possible, but the previous video as well with our Asus TUF system. I will also link that in the description if you want to see that build instead. Now, if you guys have any comments or suggestions, probably some parts that you would have liked to change or other parts you would have liked to see, let me know down in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for a different build, also let me know down there. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll check all of you next time. Cheers, guys.